All right, as we try and recover home ownership rates from the last recession, let's take a look at how race can severely restrict the upward economic mobility of African Americans. Since at least the 1940s, home ownership has been seen as a cornerstone of the American dream. It provides a sense of security, but it also builds wealth in the form of equity in your home. Now, through the mid-20th century, local governments and financial institutions used a practice known as redlining. They would literally draw red lines around black neighborhoods, leading to fewer municipal services, lower home values in those areas. But that was supposed to have ended. Well, a study from the Brookings Institution found that neighborhoods that are at least 50% black have an average of 23% lower home values. This is serious. This devaluation, by the way, just to give you a bit about how this is done, it's measured against comparable neighborhoods, looking at absolute home price differences in neighborhoods with at least 50% black populations versus neighborhoods that have fewer than 1% black residents. It also looks at structural characteristics, the year the home was built, square footage, number of rooms. It's trying to make an apples-to-apples comparison. And it looks at neighborhood amenities, the physical landscape, the economic status, the quality of education, the types of stores available, grocery stores, things like that. When all of those are equalized, we're comparing apples to apples here. When it is equalized, homes in black neighborhoods are undervalued on average by $48,000. That is a loss of $156 billion in home value for millions of Americans, mostly African Americans, but also white Americans who live in majority black neighborhoods. Brookings looked at 113 different metropolitan areas that had at least one majority black neighborhood and compared home values in that majority black neighborhood to home values outside of the majority black neighborhood. All of the purple, these are all purple, all of these purple areas are areas of devaluation. You can see them all over the eastern part of the country where majority black neighborhoods have lower home values than other neighborhoods that are otherwise equal. The green, you can hardly see them. There's a green here, there's green here, green here, green here, green here. There are a few areas of appreciation where majority black neighborhoods have higher home values than non-majority black neighborhoods. But the overwhelming majority of them are cases in which black neighborhoods have lower property values. The majority black neighborhoods in Florida's Sebastian Vero Beach area actually have higher values compared to other neighborhoods, but there are obviously far more areas that have devaluation. Perhaps the starkest area is Lynchburg, Virginia. Black majority neighborhoods there have home values 81% lower than in other neighborhoods. The absolute home value almost totally wipes out the value of the highest appreciation in the study, which is the Sebastian Vero Beach area. This is fascinating to dig into. Joining me now is the lead author on that study, Andre Perry of the Brookings Institution. Andre, you have put into a study something that we have known of, but is so influential because it's not just about your home value. It is going back decades to the home value that African Americans have tried to achieve so that they can pass on to other generations. So it has hurt generation after generation that African American neighborhoods have been undervalued. It means that African Americans can pass on less to their kids.
Absolutely. The $156 billion that my colleagues Jonathan Rothwell at Gallup and David Harshbarger also at Brookings, the $156 billion we found in cumulative losses is really the amount of money that we use to uplift our social status.
Right.
So it's the money that should go to starting a business, going to college, improving your home, or even moving to a better neighborhood.
Right.
That's what we use the equity for. But essentially, racism is robbing people, black people, of that ability to uplift themselves.
Paired with your report is some interesting numbers from the National Bureau of Economic Research that 54% of the wealth owned by black families is in home ownership. So it is a massive source of what wealth there is in black households. So this is so critically important because it's not that home ownership is just one piece of the wealth of African Americans, it's the majority of it.
Yeah, and we got to remember that black folk believe in the American dream, and we strive for the American dream. Also in the report, we found that black communities, majority black communities, hold about $600 billion worth of housing assets. There is power and strength in black communities. We are doing what we are expected to do. But the devaluation is taking away more opportunities to advance ourselves. The narrative has been that black folk are the problem for declining neighborhoods, that black women's marital status, that black boys who don't pull up their pants are the reasons why black communities are not moving up. But our research clearly finds that the devaluation, the perception of a negative value is robbing black residents opportunities for growth.
And it's a vicious cycle. I spend a lot of my time in Philadelphia, and your study found that Philadelphia, close to the average of home devaluation, had a lower number of libraries in some of those areas, lower proficiency rate for public school kids. Game this out. If the value of the home is lower, it then creates a circle in which certain institutions don't get settled in there, certain retailers don't come in, certain grocery stores don't come in.
Yeah, you devalue a neighborhood, there's divestment, people leave the neighborhood, there's fewer municipal expenditures in the neighborhood, school quality goes down because there's just not a lot of revenue in the neighborhood. It's a vicious cycle. Again, it's not black folks' fault. These are great assets. They should be worth more, 23% more, and that money should be used for those community benefits.
So I want to show you some more research from the National Bureau of Economic Research that shows wealth held by white Americans at the top versus wealth held by black Americans. Now, if you look around the middle to the right of that screen, you see that during the Great Recession, wealth falters. In both cases, it falters by a lot more because white Americans had a lot more wealth to lose, and then it comes up. Whereas black wealth, again, if it's dependent on things like property, it didn't drop as much, it didn't come up by as much either.
Yeah, you know, and this is the problem. Wealth gives you the ability to withstand the shocks that inevitably will come. You lose a job, you get sick, your son or daughter gets married. You typically leverage your equity to fill those gaps. The inability for blacks to gain wealth hurts our ability to deal with the shocks that will come. And so what I have been advocating for is for us to clearly have policies that help us deal with the racism that's baked into real estate agents, appraisals, and lending practices. But I'm also saying to the black community, hey, this report that you can get at brookings.edu, you can actually see your price and you can what your home should be worth, and you can demand value by animating the activity in your community and say, hey, we're worth more, we deserve more, we can invest more in our black communities.
Andre, great conversation, great research. Thank you for joining me. Andre Perry is with the Brookings Institution. Hey, MSNBC fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down there and click on any of the videos here to watch the latest interviews and highlights. You can get more MSNBC for free every day with our newsletters. Just visit msnbc.com/newsletters to sign up now.